In problem number 28, we are asked to shade this set, the region corresponding to this set, R prime, intersect S prime, intersect T. So what we're looking for, all the points that are outside of R and at the same time outside of S and yet at the same time inside of T. Let's just do it by pointing. So this is an and, so we need a yes and a yes and a yes. I need all three yeses if I'm going to shade that region. Let's start here. Is it outside of R? Yes. Is it outside of S? Yes. Is it in T? No. So let's move on. What about here? Is it outside of R? No. That's a no, so we need all yeses, so let's move on. What about here? Is it outside of R? No. Let's move on. What about this? Is it outside of R? Yes. But is it outside of S? No, I'm looking for this part right now. It's outside of R, but outside of S? No. So let's move on. What about this point? Outside of R? Yes. Outside of S? No. What about this point? Outside of R? No. It's not outside of S either. What about this one? Outside of R? No. It is outside of S, but it's not outside of R. What about this point in this region? Is it outside of R? Yes. Outside of S? Yes. And in T? Yes. So it looks like we've got the region that we're looking for. I'm going to put a dot there just to remind me. So let's shade this region. We want this region right here. There we go. So in this problem, we're looking for all the elements that are in R as well as S union T. So why don't we try it this way? Let's get the union first, and let's work inside the parentheses. S union T. So we want everything in S and T lumped together. Maybe we can do that this way. Here's everything, I'll do this in a blue. Here's everything in S lumped in with everything in T. Right, if I pick any point in this shaded region, it's in S or T. Right? It's like this is in S, not in T, but it has to be in at least one of them. Now, let's get the points in R. I'm just going to get these points right here that are in R, and then I'll see where they overlap. So here's the points in R. I'll do this in kind of a green. No, that's not showing up real well. Okay, well, there's R anyway. All right, I'll go over it. There's R. So what I'm looking for now is what's the intersection of the green, right? The green is R, and the blue, which is S union T. So that looks like it's this region right in here. Let's do that in maybe a different color. So we want this region right here. Let's do that in red. I think it's this region right here. That's pretty good. So that red represents this set right here. Now in this problem, number 34, we're looking for S intersect T, but the instructions say to use 3 circle Venn diagram. All right, so we need S intersect T. Now there's no R here, so R has nothing to do with this. This shading that we're going to do is independent of R. So what we're looking for is everything in S and outside of T. So let's do this by pointing. What about this? Is this inside of S? No. Now remember, it's an intersection, so I need both yeses. It has to be inside of S, and yes, it has to be outside of T. Is it in S? No. Let's move. Is it in R? This is R. Is it in S? No. It is outside of T, but it's not in S, so let's move over. Is this in S? Yes. And is it outside of T? Yes. This point right in here is in S and outside of T, so I'm going to put a point there just to remind me that that one works. All right, now let's move over here. Is this point here in S, in this region? Yes. And is it outside of T? Yes. Anything in here is in S and outside of T. So let's put a little point there to remind us that that one works. Now what about this region right in here? Is that in S? Yes. Is it outside of T? No. So that doesn't work. What about this point here? In S? Yes. Outside of T? No. What about this point here? Is it in S? No. So that doesn't work. What about this point? Is it in S? No. All right, so it looks like the only points that are going to work here are these points right in here. Yeah, so I'm going to shade that in yellow. So anything out in this region here is in S and outside of T. And because there's no R up here, this is independent of R. It doesn't matter what R is.